Good to go, John.
Thanks, folks, for jumping on. This is John Newer. I'm the Communications Director for Keystone Progress Education Fund. We're going to start our program in just a minute, but I just wanted to say thank you. We know that everybody is very busy, so it's not easy to take some time and spend it especially on a weeknight like this. So we're going to get started in just a minute, but I just wanted to say thank you for jumping on with us. We really appreciate it. All right, we're actually going to start a program. Like I said, my name is John Neurard. I'm the Communications Director for Keystone Progress Education Fund. And I wanted to thank you again for getting on the call tonight. We know that everybody is very busy, and it means a lot to us that you're going to spend a few minutes with us. We're having this call to talk about issues that are important to you and your family and people like you. In fact, in just a little while, we're going to give you the chance to vote over the phone on the issue that is most important to you and to your family right now. We're going to get started with the program in just a minute, but first I wanted to make sure that everybody knew throughout the program you can press 0 at any time to ask a question. You'll be placed in a queue so we know you have a question, and we'll get to those questions very soon. So you can press 0 at any time. Tonight, I'm really excited to have two great speakers. One is our own organizing director, Brenda Barron, and the other is Sari Stevens, who's the executive director of Planned Parenthood Pennsylvania Advocates. Now, I'm going to turn the call over to Brenda now for a little bit more info about Keystone Progress Education Fund, and then Brenda is also going to introduce Sari in a little bit more detail. Brenda?
All right, thanks a lot, John, and welcome everybody to the call. As a multi-issue statewide organization, we at Keystone Progress Education Fund are taking on women's equality in a few new ways. First, this call, brings together women, voters, and our members from across the state to create dialogue and change. And one of the issues, we're working on is one that is being discussed from Washington, D.C. to even episodes of Scandal. People are talking about the important issue of equal pay for equal work. And why is this a problem right now in the news? We might be asking ourselves, why now, right? It's been years since this has been a problem. Well, finally, we've been able to raise up the problem that in PA, in our state of Pennsylvania, overall, women make 77 cents for every dollar a man makes. And women of color in our state are in an even worse position. African-American women make 63 cents, and Latina women make 56 cents to a white man's dollar. And in 2014, it's really about time that we change this. This is just one of the issues that we are taking on and leading with right now at Keystone Progress. And one of the main ways we're doing it in the moment is we are taking this conversation to the doors of voters in the Lehigh Valley and also on the phones to voters across the state. And we were doing that through November 4th. And then after we show our power by voting next month on November 4th, then Keystone Progress Education Fund, we're going to continue to engage the communities in conversations. We're going to host education events. We're going to keep these issues in the news and continue to build up the skills of advocates and volunteers across the state so we have a strong team of leaders to advocate throughout. And then together with our partners, our strong leaders, we are going to change this unjust policy and many of the other policies and practices so that all women in Pennsylvania have equal opportunity to thrive in our state. I want you to stay on the line, though, to learn about and discuss other critical issues that impact women's lives. Our guest, Sari, will be sharing that with a minute. I want to leave us with one last thought before we head over to Sari and back to John. Remember that those who benefit from this inequality don't want us to vote or get involved. They're actually counting on us not getting involved. And that's why we together need to make our voices even louder to make that change. Presentation, we'll take questions. So you can, as John said, you can press 0 at any time to be put in the question queue. But also to volunteer to help us reach out to critical voters this fall, whether it's door-to-door canvassing, to calling on the phones, to things as simple as helping us with day-to-day tasks at the office. Press 1 now if you're interested. And so now I'm going to turn the call back over to John for just 1 minute.
Thanks a lot, Brenda. And I don't know, it sounded like the line maybe dropped off for a minute, so let me just repeat again. You can press 1 right now if you're interested in volunteering, like Brenda said. Before we continue the program, just a couple other logistical things. Like we said, and like Brenda said, you can press 0 throughout the call if you have a question. You'll go into a queue, and we'll take those questions as soon as they come in just a few minutes. But right now, before we continue, what I want to do is I want to ask you what issue is most important to you and to your family. So here are the options right now. You can press number 1 if the most important issue for you is equal pay for equal work. You can press number 2 if access to reproductive health care is the most important issue to you. You can press 3 if paid family leave time is the most important issue to you. You can press 4 for increasing the minimum wage. And you can press 5 for access to affordable child care. So let me tell you again. 1 is equal pay for equal work. 2 is access to reproductive health care. 3 is paid family leave time. 4 is increasing the minimum wage. And then finally, 5 is access to affordable child care. We're going to collect those results, and we'll let you know in just a couple of minutes what you voted for. I also want to let you know that you can press 7 at any time to donate to Keystone Progress Education Fund. We know that that's not easy, and we acknowledge that, but donations will help us to continue the great work that Brenda just talked about. So if you press 7, you'll be sent to an operator who will take care of you, and you can do that anytime throughout the call. Now I'm going to turn the call back over to Brenda, and she's going to introduce our guest speaker. Brenda?
Thanks, John. I'm really excited to invite and introduce Sari Stevens, who is the Executive Director of Planned Parenthood Advocates in Pennsylvania. Sari has really been one of the key leaders in our state to advance women's rights, women's health care rights, and right now working very hard to continue to protect the rights that we do have. Wanted to thank you again, Sari, for taking time out of your busy work and parenting schedule to join our call and talk to our members and voters about these critical issues and how we can improve the situation for women across the state. So, Sari, I'll hand it over to you.
Thanks so much, Brenda. Hi, everyone. I'm so pleased to be here with you this evening. My name is Sari Stevens. As Brenda said, I run our statewide political and nonprofit organization for Planned Parenthood. You probably know Planned Parenthood. We're the largest family planning provider in the country and in Pennsylvania. I know you're all busy, so I'm going to keep my remarks very brief. My friends at Keystone Progress asked me to get on the phone tonight to talk to you about what the landscape is like for Pennsylvania women in the Commonwealth. So I just want to be clear. The landscape right now is pretty bleak. First off, for the last 2 years, we've seen more attacks on access to reproductive health care than we saw in the previous 2 decades, including 2 bills that attacked access to abortion care being signed into law by our current governor. And there is a strong majority of Pennsylvanians across the state, Pennsylvania voters, who support access to legal abortion, but that belief is not shared by over half of the lawmakers in Harrisburg. And this dire state of affairs is even broader than reproductive health care. I can tell you for sure that right now in Pennsylvania, women are second-class citizens. And if you're a parent like me, I hope this strikes a chord even more so. I'm the mother of 3 children, 2 boys and a girl, and right now my daughter's future is not as bright as her brother's. My daughter will make 77 cents for every dollar her brothers earn. My daughter can be subject to sexual discrimination, which is still legal in certain businesses in Pennsylvania. She can even be fired for being pregnant. My daughter's reproductive health care is unclear. Will her boss determine whether or not she should have access to contraception? Will reproductive health care even be legal in 20 years in Pennsylvania? Right now, 97% of Pennsylvania counties don't even have an abortion provider. And in the last 2 years, we've seen 5 health centers close. The future is not bright. And for women of color, the statistics are even more dire. And so this is where my appeal to you comes in. Folks, we need you to vote. It's the only way we're we're going to see change in Pennsylvania. It's the only way our children, especially our daughters, will have a future where they are treated as equal citizens to their brothers. Believe me, I know your lives are busy. On November 4th, on Tuesday, November 4th, on Election Day, I bet your morning is going to look like mine. Probably the baby's crying or eating cat food. Your 4-year-old's probably throwing a fit because she doesn't want to wear shoes. Maybe the dog ran away. Definitely you're 20 minutes late for work. I know how it goes. But please, I'm begging you, push aside a little bit of the chaos. Find 10 minutes to get to the polls. They open early at 7 a.m. They stay open till 8 p.m. Every year I take my kids. Sometimes they get a cookie. Every year they get a sticker that says I voted. So that's all I'm going to say tonight. Thank you for your support. My daughter and I thank you so much for doing your civic duty and voting on November 4th. And Brenda, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thanks a lot, Sari, and thanks for sharing the political environment as well as, the personal impact of voting and the issues. So everybody, I want to remind you you can press 1 right now to volunteer to help us reach out to critical voters this fall. Again, we're going door to door and calling on the phones across the state and helping out with our everyday education and outreach tasks. Again, you can press 1 if you're able to help us, whether you're able to help us now or you want to help us in the next few days or the next few months. Press 1 and we can reach out to you and share with you those opportunities. What I'm going to do is turn it over to John real quick to give the results of our survey and start the question and answer session. So, John?
Thanks, Brenda. So I want to remind everybody, again, press 0 at any time. We're going to take questions in 30 seconds. So we'd love for you to press 0, and you'll get into the question queue, and we'll take your question in just a minute. I also wanted to remind you that you can press 7 at any time to donate to our efforts, and you'll be sent to an operator. But if you'd like to donate but you don't feel comfortable donating right now over the phone, which is totally understandable, we're also taking future pledges. So actually what you're able to do is we are able to right now take those pledges. You can press 1 to pledge $25 in the future. You can press 2 to pledge $50 in the future. You could press 3 to pledge $100 in the future. So we're going to take those pledges tonight, but you can donate later. We'll get in touch down the road, so you don't have to do it right now over the phone. So that's 1 for $25, that's 2 for $50, and that's 3 for $100 if donating tonight just doesn't make sense. I wanted to give you the results of the survey that we did before, the issue that's most important to you. So it looks like over 50% of you say that the most important issue to you of the ones that we mentioned was increasing the minimum wage. And then 33% of you said that equal pay for equal work was most important. And then we had 3% for access to reproductive health care, 3% for paid family leave time, and 2% for access to affordable health care. But remember, we were asking you what was the most important issue to you. So obviously a lot of those issues are important to you for a number of reasons. It's not just one of those issues that stands out. Let me remind you again, you can press 0 to go into the to the queue for questions. We'd love for you to be able to ask questions. I'm going to take just a couple seconds. We'll wait here, and we will queue up a few of those questions. And actually, while we're doing that, I'm going to jump in with a question real quick. So this is either for Sari or for Brenda, either one of you guys. I'm a native Pennsylvanian, so it has always seemed this way to me, but it's confusing. Why does it seem like Pennsylvania has been so regressive when it comes to women and women's equality? We don't have many elected women in office in Pennsylvania, whether that's at the state level, obviously, or down the ballot. It's been a challenge to push through an equal pay law. What do you attribute that to?
Hey, John, it's Sari. I think there's a couple things. I've done this job in Pennsylvania for 10 years, and we have about 17% of our lawmakers are women. Obviously, that's well out of whack with the 54% of the voters that are women. I think at the most basic level, though, our lawmakers vote differently than the way their constituents believe. And there's a huge disconnect, whether it's the minimum wage, whether it's equal pay for equal work, whether it's reproductive rights. The voters' belief system is not reflected in their lawmakers' actual votes. And it's incumbent upon us, upon me, upon all of you on the phone to make your voices heard through voting, through activities, through going to the Capitol and contacting your lawmakers. They need to hear from you. Otherwise, this is going to be the status quo for many years to come.
Thanks, Sari. Our next question comes from Rochelle. And Rochelle, it sounds like you want to talk a little bit about, this one might be for Brenda, about the mission of Keystone Progress. Is that right?
Yes, you're sponsoring this telephone call, and I'd like to find out what work you guys do.
Great. Yes, I can take that. Thanks, Rochelle, for the question. So Keystone Progress Education Fund and our sister organization, Keystone Progress, we're a statewide multi-issue organization. We've been around in the state for over 6 years now, and we have worked on a number of issues that impact Pennsylvanians. Equal rights for women has been one of them, LGBT rights, as well as economic issues such as taxes and job creation, immigration reform, and Medicaid expansion have been some of our key issues. We've done, over the years, we've done a lot of our work online. We have a large subscriber list across the state that can really make an impact on issues. Recently, we were able to influence federal judicial nominations to not, basically in short, to not make sure that a very, very conservative judge did not get nominated to the federal courts because of the activeness of our state list. But also, we host the largest gathering of progressives across the state every year. So this February 5th, 6th, I believe, or 4th and 5th, close to 1,000 or more Pennsylvanians will gather to talk about issues ranging from the ones I mentioned to environmental issues to voting rights and healthcare access in general. So we have a day of trainings and conversations across the state. And now we are expanding our work even more and focusing on work on women's issues, making sure that our economic and reproductive health issues are listed up not just in the media and in communications across the state, but also through grassroots organizing. And we are starting that work in the Lehigh Valley, so focusing in Allentown, Bethlehem, Easton area of the state, and starting that work with knocking on doors of women voters who don't generally get out to vote, encouraging them to vote, talking to them about these issues, and actually building community together to make change. So actually right now as we're on this call, there's a group of women, and I think 1 or 2 men are on their way too, gathering at our office in Bethlehem to listen in on the call and share fellowship so we can learn more about the issues and also do trainings on issues and messaging. We also do phone calls and just basic grassroots organizing to build the power of women and all people that are interested in making change for women across the state. So hopefully that answered your question. I could say a lot more, but I don't want to take up all the airtime.
Thanks, Brenda, and thanks, Rochelle, for the question. I want to remind folks you can press 0 at any time to get in the queue to ask questions. Our next question actually comes from Brenda, another Brenda, not the same Brenda. Brenda, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you. Yes, my question is, since there are so many important issues in this election cycle in November, is the primary method to get more voters alerted or more voters to vote is by going door to door or calling or doing whatever we can do to help get more voters out?
Yeah, that's exactly, at Keystone Progress Education Fund, what we're doing is talking, we talk to women, when we talk to women at the doors there, 2 times more likely to actually go to the polls than if just by a phone call, and a phone call increases their likelihood even more. So what we want to do is, we're focused on women because ultimately all these issues we've just laid out are affecting women's lives, and so we're reaching out to them in a targeted way to increase the turnout of women's voices, so we can then, after taking that first step of voting, get even more engaged in the political process of having our voices heard. And so, the more people that get to the polls that are for women having equal rights, the better off we're going to be come January in the legislature, if our voices are heard.
Thanks, Brenda, and thank you to the other Brenda for the question. All right, next we have Amy in Harrisburg. Amy, go ahead.
Hi, Brenda, another question for you. Could you give us more specific information about the volunteer opportunities, what specifically you need in terms of skills, and where you would be needing those volunteers?
Great question, Amy. Thank you for asking. We need, across the state, we need volunteers in a number of ways organizationally. One of the main things we're going to be doing for the voter outreach is the week before the election, which is what we call the Get Out the Vote time period. We are going to be asking for volunteers to make phone calls to the women that are Keystone Progress members and who are subscribers on our list who don't generally get out and vote in these off-year elections. So we're going to make sure that first the people who know our organization and we know care about our issues already are getting to the polls. So we're going to be emailing them, though, as well as using volunteers to call them and, member to member talking to each other, or subscriber to subscriber talking to each other. So that's going to be starting on October 27th. We're going to be making those phone calls. We also are making phone calls to voters in the Lehigh Valley starting now, and if folks are interested in starting with that, we could also do a remote calling program for that. We also need volunteers in the Lehigh Valley area, but we have our opportunities where we are going door to door. Next Saturday, October 11th, is our next door to door canvas. Anyone's welcome to come for the afternoon, the morning and afternoon from 10 to 2. We provide some breakfast and we provide some pizza and food at the end, and a lot of training. So, Amy, when you asked about the skill sets, really what you need is the passion to want to make change, and we provide the training to make that difference, whether it's coming to our office and being trained or it's over the phone. We'll do over the phone training. And we also have an organizer in Williamsport covering about 6 counties in north central PA. She also provides trainings, too, on a number of issues. She's fighting for LGBT equality. Another area in which we need volunteers is in early February for our Progressive Summit. Volunteering at our summit is a great way to get to know the organization, too, and experience the premier event for progressives across the state. So you can get in the queue for that. So you can press 1 for any of those opportunities and know that basically it's the passion and commitment that we really want, and we can train you on almost anything. Oh, another thing is, too, is letters to the editor and talking to your local newspapers too. John has been great at writing sample letters and stuff like, and opinion editorials for broader public education. So
thanks, Brenda.
1, if you want to learn more about all those opportunities, we can hook you up more detailed in your area.
Thanks, Brenda. Sorry, I didn't mean to jump over you there. And thanks, Amy, for the question. I wanted to jump in with a quick question because we sort of alluded to this before, but I think it's really important. And Sari, this is something that I know that you've worked for a number of years on a lot of different levels. But how do we get more women to run for office, and how critical is that?
Yeah, I think it's absolutely critical. I was recently listening to Chris and Gillibrand talk about women in the U.S. Senate, and obviously that's not the state legislature, but their willingness to work across the aisle and find compromise, not go to extremes, not take up issues that, the far right Tea Party is pushing these days. How we get women to run for office, that is not my specialty, John. I wish I knew the answer to that. I think that campaign finance laws are a real burden and a real barrier to women running for office. I think the culture in Harrisburg is not conducive to family life. But, it is not something that I feel like I have the magic ticket answer for, and I wish I knew more about how to fix this problem.
All right, so I want to remind you one more time, if you press 0, you can get in the speaker's queue. And like Brenda said, I want to mention also one thing we didn't talk about, but we should have. Our website, KeystoneProgressEducation.org. You can get a lot of information there. You can learn also where you are able to click and sign up to volunteer. You can, you can see what kinds of issues we're working on. I know someone had a question about that before. So please check that out, KeystoneProgressEducation.org. And it looks like we've run our questions through. So I want to just thank you all. We know how busy you are for getting on the call tonight. It really means a lot to us that you took some time out to do that. I want to thank Sari and Brenda. We really appreciate you guys taking time out as well. And we'll be in touch. This is a program that runs up until election time and then beyond that. This is not just a program that we're running to try to get people to vote and then we're going to close up shop. This is a long fight. And it's about legislation in January, and it's about voting again the next time around. So thank you all very much, and we want to make sure that you're, again, you can go to KeystoneProgressEducation.org, KPEF.info is another way to get there. We'd love for you to be able to check that out. So thank you all again for getting on. Thank you to our speakers, and we hope everybody has a great night.